name is Sue. I work at the Whitby Public Library. Thanks for joining us to watch this video on mindfulness, self-compassion, and well-being. This is a pre-recorded program from earlier in the summer, and I'll tell you a little bit about what it's about. The intention of this program is to explore what mindfulness is and also what it is not. We're going to outline its benefits in stress reduction and well-being, and we're going to start to introduce some formal practices. The formal practices will be indicated by time and also by a marker during the video. So if you want to come back and do those practices time and time again, you're very welcome to do that. We're going to rerun this 4-week event in October. So if you find that you do enjoy the sessions and the practices, we are going to be rerunning October 8, 15, 22, and 29. So that's a 4-week program, Thursday evenings in October. Registration is open for that now on our website, so please do feel free to register also. I'm going to hand it over to Joan and the pre-recorded program in a moment. Joan is a certified mindfulness-based reduction teacher, and she's been doing this for quite some time. And I hope you enjoy it as much as I have, and others that have attended the live programs. Okay, thanks, and here we go.
I'm going to start with a small settling practice. So I'll ring the bells. And before doing so, remember intention. What is the intention of a practice? And the intention of this one is just that. We've perhaps come from dinner, or we've been working, or we have been active in some way. And the idea is to simply gather ourselves, arriving in this moment. So inviting yourself, giving yourself a warm welcome, and sensing what it means for you to be here in this moment. My suggestion is to begin by taking in a few breaths. And if you can, at the belly level, so following the breath as you inhale, right to the very, very end, tiny pause, and then following an exhaling breath. Sometimes at the beginning of a practice, you really do need to inhale, filling the lungs. And then on an exhale, perhaps letting go, because we've always got some residual tension in the body. So feeling the movement of the breath coming in and going out. And all the while, you're collecting your attention on the breath. So perhaps after a few longer, deeper breaths, you'll naturally go into a more natural rhythm. Perhaps opening to sounds wherever you are. So we're awakening our senses. So listening to sounds. This gentle awakening to this moment. And then perhaps bringing your attention to the body, this breathing body, and noticing if there's any places that you might want to let go of. Right? Sometimes we observe, we feel that there might be just a bit of tightness that you immediately notice. So inviting yourself to let go. Might be the jaw, might be the neck or the shoulders. So loosening, softening, maybe softening your shoulders, your hands, relaxing down through the belly. Always aware, right, of the breath. Breathing in, this light scan. You're aware of any sensations in the body. You're aware of the breath as the body breathes. So now again, we're going to place some attention on the area around the heart. Feeling the heart. Again, often described as the emotional seat of where we're at. So just noticing your mood right now, noticing what feelings are present. Again, we're always cultivating, non-judging, right? We're not judging right now. All we're doing is really this checking in, allowing ourselves to be with whatever is present. And perhaps opening to an intention, your intention for being here tonight, your intention of coming to practice. We're here to help ourselves feel better, learn. So again, but you deciding, is there a particular intention tonight for yourself that your practices can help meet and focus on? And perhaps observing in this moment, what's the quality of presence like in this moment? Again, we're not in any hurry. We're not trying to get anywhere. You might want to go to the breath. And as we're settling, as we're welcoming ourselves, I'm going to read a poem, and it's called Peace. And it's by somebody called Dorothy Hunt, who is not related to me. Do you think peace requires an end to war, or tigers eating only vegetables? Does it require an absence from your boss, your spouse, or yourself? Do you think that peace will come some other place than here, some other time than now, in some other heart than yours? Peace is this moment without judgment. That's all. This moment in the heart space where everything that is welcome. Peace is this moment without thinking that it should be some other way, that you should feel some other thing, that your life should unfold according to your plans. Peace is this moment without judgment. This moment in the heart space where everything that is welcome. Perhaps, taking a moment, there might be a message or something in there that's your attention has been drawn to. And if there isn't, that's fine too. So perhaps again, just this following the breath, just allowing the mind and the body a moment of settling. And at the sound of the bell, I ring it 3 times at the end of a practice, opening to the next moment. Perhaps some reflections if you would be interested in sharing. So the invitation after a practice is to allow for a pause and to encourage reflection and open to any comments, uh, any thoughts that you wanted to share. And it's fine if you do, and it's fine if you don't. But it's important to pause. Yeah, because we always have a tendency to want to, immediately move to something else. So Kelly has said that it was a beautiful poem, and I would agree with you, it is. So you can access that on the internet. Yeah. So tonight, it's week 3, and I am going to do a couple of things. I am going to focus on a practice that will include a sitting practice that will include sounds and thoughts, and that will be the main practice. And then I will do a, a, a practice at the end that is again cultivating well-being, and both of those practices will be available to you to practice. I'm wondering if there's anyone would like to ask anything about the body scan practice. Is there any comments that you wanted to make? I would be open to talking about that. It seemed to me that when I reflected on our session last week, that one of the things that I perhaps didn't emphasize enough was that in the body scan, it is such a significant practice. Its intention is to befriend the body, to do it in a systematic way, but it's also a practice that can help cultivate concentration. So we're focusing on one part of the body, let's say the feet, the toes, right? The upper part, the lower, the sole, the ankle, perhaps, or the heel. And the idea is that you focus your attention on that and stay there, linger there before going on, say, to the ankle or the lower leg. So I wanted to emphasize that that's one of the aspects of the body scan that is very helpful, is that it trains the attention, it cultivates focus, gathering your attention, because that's one of the things, right, that can be very challenging in trying to have a practice. How do you sustain your attention? And one of you have already asked that question. So I wanted to emphasize that that's one way of doing it. Okay, so are you saying, Kelly, that you fight to stop the mind from racing? Is that how the body scan helped you? Was that it prevented you from your mind going um, at a fast rate? Yes. Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Okay. So that's an interesting observation to make. Okay. So that would be very helpful, I suspect. Um, So, again, to reiterate that the value of the body scan is to really give us information about what is happening, right, in the body. And I think that we have a tendency very much to live in our heads. We have we're constantly viewing and relating to experience through what's going on up in our mind. And while sometimes that could be a helpful thing to do, sometimes it's helpful to get out of our head and it's helpful to directly experience what is going on. And, uh, and so if there's a particular region that you come upon in the body that is giving you some information, it might be tight, it might be tense, there might be a knot there might be pulsating, it might be tingling, might be hot, might be cold. Um, this could be very interesting for you, and if we can meet it with kindness, with curiosity, with a compassionate view of ourselves, then this, in theory, this can open up some choices about what is the best thing to do. Do we need to move? Do we need to shift? Do we need to take the breath? So I know that one of you had asked about muscle tension. Um, and so I think that when there's an area in your body, that a region that you notice that there's some ache or there's some tightness, then my recommendation with that is to explore it. And this is where we get into the relationship between the mind and the body. This is where we get into that the body will tell you things, maybe a symptom, um, but it is to explore, to widen whether or not that this is connected to something that's going on, thoughts that you may be having, and or feelings that you may be having, and that's where it's manifesting itself in that particular area. Um, the other aspect I would say is that often it can be helpful to take your breath to an area that is causing you some distress. And it would be to work on the edge of the distress. We typically go perhaps right into the ache or the pain or the what we perceive as the center. And sometimes it can be very helpful to stay just gently on the outside and work a little bit in with the breath, using the breath to soften the area. Because when we feel something in our body, I know for myself that when I feel a tightness in a muscle and it's like this, right? It's concrete, almost feels like it's concrete sometimes. We contract and make it worse. So it is to be able to soften around that area. And mindfulness and a body scan can help you do that. And to then explore, does that make any difference? Does that alter it? The other huge benefit, I would say, of the body scan is that when we experience something in our body, we have a tendency generally to then think it's the whole body, right? We then in our minds we often think, oh my goodness, this the whole body is not, I'm not feeling good. Whereas the body scan will often illustrate to you that there's many parts of your body that are actually neutral, they're fine. So there are pieces there that I would encourage, and I would say, or I would suggest to you that that it can be very helpful, or that one side is different to the other side, and again, it's always cultivating, um, non-striving. We don't need to strive with the body. When we're trying to rest, um, trying to look after ourselves, um, then it's important to again always to look at non-judging and non-striving in the moment. So these are some comments. In the reference, in the book that John Cabot's in, Full Catastrophe Living, there are about 3 chapters in that book. I looked them up today. Working with difficulty in the body, and that was his original work in developing a mindfulness-based stress reduction, which is what I've been taught and trained in. Then there was a huge amount of work done in pain in the body, and he looked at acute pain versus chronic pain, and there's a lot of quite interesting bits of information in there that was gleaned from working with people that had many difficulties in their body, and really moved towards having a relationship with pain that helped them lead a better quality of life. So if you're interested, I would highly recommend reading that. The other the other aspects of practicing, which I'll mention for a few minutes, I had gone over last week, but I do want to, because I want to encourage you, as a result of the pandemic, um, you know, living with so much change, living with uncertainty. Now we're about to open up to the second phase, and I don't know about anybody else, but I'm really quite nervous about that, and find that we've got many variations amongst people about how they are perceiving it. So to find ways of grounding yourself and looking after yourself right now is key. So I think one of you last week had mentioned about you had slowed down and you had been trying to work with less reactivity. And I think that's wonderful, because when we get stressed, right, when our body goes into that, we get super kind of hyper, um, uh, we get symptoms when our body gets aroused, right? We feel a bit threatened. Something is overwhelming us. We're anxious. Something isn't okay. So our body will often tell us that, right? So we go into this. Sometimes we get tightness in the chest. Blood pressure goes up. We get everything constricts and contracts, and so when we stay like that, this is not good, and we need to try to down regulate. So ways of doing that is through being mindful and quietening and calming ourselves, so that we can sleep at night, so that we can digest our food, right? Because when we get hyper, our digestive system clogs up, doesn't work as well, you know. Um, nothing works very well, actually. And we start to release a lot of hormones into our body that can cause us distress. And if we don't balance it out, if we don't find ways of relaxing, calming ourselves, and stay at this hyper arousal state, then this is difficult and this is not good for us. So very important that when we're trying to quieten ourselves through mindfulness and through meditating, it's very important that we understand that our mind will wander, it will drift, it will. It's that's what minds do. They drift, they go all over the place. So but that's why we're inviting always this uh, sense of it's okay. You're going to go off, and we need to find something to anchor, to ground ourselves. So we go to the breath. Maybe we might go to the body scan. And in the practice I'm going to do, we might go to sounds. And then I'm going to do the thought practice. But we get so hooked on to, am I doing it right? We get so hooked on to, there has to be a goal. We have to try to, get somewhere. That's the striving part of us. And in many aspects of our life, striving can be very, very advantageous. It's not a bad thing. But we need to discern, we need to distinguish when it comes to our health, lots of stress, lots of things that are unpredictable right now. We need to have ways where uh, we can stabilize ourselves and regulate. So I am saying to you that be aware that these are common aspects that will interrupt sustaining a practice. Am I doing it right? There has to be some sort of goal, especially if something unpleasant is arising. Um, you know, like I think one of you mentioned last week about, you go to that doing mind. We've got very fertile minds about, the to-do list, and because life is busy, and it's very, 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 very busy, very active, lots of demands. So I'm encouraging you to invite time, 5 minutes, invite some time on a regular basis to invite time with yourself, even to go to the breath and take some breath. So, is there anything that you would like to ask me about what I have just said? I mean, the other aspects of life, right, are that we need to hydrate, we need to be thoughtful about what we eat, we need to do pleasant things in our life. We need to have ways where we have some joy, where we have some light activities. That's absolutely crucial to well-being. So in a mindfulness-based stress reduction program, in fact, in a mindfulness-based cognitive therapy program, mindfulness-based cancer recovery, I'm doing one now with wellness and resiliency. They all talk about pleasant events. We all look at how to cultivate. It could be an interest. I don't know. It could be sitting having your favorite cup of coffee. But it's knowing that you are doing it so that you can feel better about yourself and making a choice that you can soak in that good feeling. So we need to have ways of soaking in, introducing, grabbing hold of the good stuff. And I cannot begin to stress that to you. That's really vital. So today I went swimming with my great nephew, and it was just the joy of a little boy laughing and playing, and so you get the idea. Or one of you talked about walking in the forest, the wood, the trees, the breeze. Um, Maybe there's some voices in the distance. So it's about again mindfulness and knowing that this is something that we need to embrace. I don't know if any of you have heard about the negativity bias, but this was a piece of research that was done quite some time ago now by psychologists in I think the University of Pennsylvania, and again it might be interesting to look it up. Where no matter in a day, in a couple of days, you could have had lots of good stuff happen, but we are wired to go to the thing that that didn't quite work out the way that we wanted it to, or somebody said something, or there's a situation that didn't quite work out. So everything else could be delightful, but that one thing, and that we are wired as human beings to grab a hold of that, and then it becomes we absorb it and almost erase all the good stuff. So it's to be aware of that, to be aware of that, and to look um, uh, at the same time, right? Trying to boost ourselves, trying to and not feed that negativity, but to really boost the good stuff. And right now, with this pandemic, that to me would be vital for our mental and physical health. So, so I will. I'm just going to pause, and I'm going to take. I'm going to introduce straw breathing to you. So straw breathing is very simplistic and very easy. So you just to have a mindful pause in the day, great thing to teach kids, where you're going to breathe in through your nostrils, and then you're going to purse your lips like as though you're breathing out through a straw. And you're going to, as best you can, breathe out twice as long as an inhale. So breathe in through the nostrils, purse the lips, and do this another 4 or 5 times. And you could add, as you're breathing out, you're letting go. It could be a specific thing you're letting go, or you could say you're just letting go of any tightness or stress or tension. Breathe in, bringing in good. So that is just a tiny little thing of self-care. Um, when you emphasize an exhaling breath, that is a relaxing breath. And you always try to do it twice as long as an inhale. And that will help to settle that part of your central nervous system that perhaps is hyper aroused. So just a little thing. Sometimes it's good to do that 5, 7 times. Easy thing to teach kids. So I'm now going to go into the practice on, I'm going to do a practice that will include a little bit of awareness of breathing, and then we'll move into sounds and thoughts. So perhaps just taking a moment to make sure that you're in the right chair, if you need some extra support, you might want to get a cushion. Um, so yeah, just to take a moment to be with yourself and set yourself up. Bringing awareness to this moment, awareness of posture, noticing the body having contact with the floor. That would be the feet, perhaps feeling them planted on the floor. And that the pelvic area is being supported by the chair. And again, feeling that support. That's so important that we can feel support. And that the spine is being supported either by leaning against the back of the chair, which is absolutely fine, or some people might be self-supporting and that they're literally maybe a little bit closer to the edge of the chair. The shoulders, you might want to um, pull them up to the ears for a moment or two, and then abruptly let them go. Eyes are gently closed, or if you're particularly tired right now, you might want to open them and lower your gaze just a little bit, 2, 3 feet ahead. And wherever your hands are comfortable, they could be resting on your thighs, they could be clasped. You decide. So that the posture is one of dignity and respect, openness, receptivity, gratitude. Mountain-like, stable, solid. And now widening your awareness to include the breath. And following the breath as you're breathing in and as you're breathing out. And again, observing if you need to take a couple of deeper breaths because of that residual tension. So following the breath, entering the body, this life energy coming in, moving through, tiny pause as it then exhales. This repetitive nature of breathing in and breathing out. No need to be anywhere, no need to be doing anything other than following the breath. Perhaps opening to feeling. Can we feel the sensations of breathing? So can we feel that the lungs fill up, the rib cage widens? And then when we exhale, observing how the body contracts, it flops it inwards, a little bit like a balloon, really. And of course, by now, you've probably been distracted. You've probably noticed that you've wandered off to thoughts. So again, you note that you've wandered off, some narrative, conversation, whatever. So just take a moment. You can just take a moment to breathe around that. You've got distracted. Maybe there's a reaction to that. Maybe not. So again, this bringing the kindness, bringing the non-judging, gently return. So you're gently escorting the breath back, and you're following the breath as it's coming in, it's going out. Doesn't matter where you go, the breath is always there. It's this really solid, trusting friend. It's a bit like when you go off, wander, get distracted. It's a bit like coming back to a home base. And you follow wherever the breath is. Perhaps playfully noticing, is your breath, is it rough? Is it smooth? Maybe it's short, long. Maybe it's deep, shallow. Whatever it is, again, no need to judge. It is being with what it is and being curious. So we're widening our awareness. So just noticing, right? We're moving just slightly away from the breath being the primary focus of the concentration. It's still there. So you can go back to that breath any time that you feel that you need to. And we're now going to widen to include sounds. So this is a little bit different this time because we're all in different different rooms, different locations. So we're bringing awareness to whatever sounds you notice. So let's start off with sounds in the room. So are sounds near? Some are near rather. Some are perhaps a little bit further away in the room. So we're activating our listening. So we're not thinking about sounds, right? So noticing if you are thinking about them. We're encouraging and inviting ourselves to listen. Maybe some sounds are high, some are low. Maybe there's spaces between the sounds. So let's widen now and invite ourselves. Are there sounds outside the room? Maybe somewhere else in the house. Maybe they're quite distant. Maybe they come and go. Again, are we hearing? Are we listening? Are there spaces between sounds? And maybe there is, in fact, maybe there's some quietness. Maybe we've got distracted. Maybe we're back to wandering off somewhere. Maybe we're bored. Maybe. So again, bringing our attention back to sounds themselves, aware of any judgments, aware of any striving, wanting something to be different to what it is. Maybe there's some reactivity about some sounds. So holding it all with interest, with curiosity. So let's widen our awareness to consider sounds from much further away, maybe outside of the building. I'm assuming that everyone is in their home. So aware of sounds from perhaps further away, maybe a car sound, traffic, maybe a human sound of you breathing. Maybe sounds come and some linger, come and go. And now inviting ourselves to expand, to widen our awareness, to include thoughts, thoughts themselves. So noticing what comes up when you are invited to be aware of what thoughts are present in this moment. Maybe there's a moment where there isn't a thought, or you have a thought about a thought. Maybe there's lots of different thoughts. Maybe there's a theme to your thoughts. So again, bringing some curiosity to what thoughts are actually present. We can have, sometimes we can have like popcorn thoughts, right? They're just all over the place. But sometimes maybe there's a particular narrative going on. So the invitation is, because thoughts are there, we can never get rid of thoughts. They're part of us being human. Can we stay on the outside of a thought? The invitation is not to go into, not to delve into a thought, to observe that they're there, noticing that they're there, observing, a thought. Can you let it be there and not analyze it, not dig into it, not problem solve, not come up with solutions, allow the thoughts to exist. We don't want to deny them, we don't want to reject them, but we don't want to particularly get engaged with them. And often the analogy with thoughts is that they are like clouds in a sky. So we have this vast, vast sky, really like a mind. It's vast, it's huge. And there are clouds in that sky. They're sometimes it's completely clear, but sometimes there's clouds that are white and fluffy. They stand alone sometimes. Sometimes they're in clusters. Sometimes they're moving slowly. Sometimes they're far away. Sometimes there's dark clouds, foreboding, grey. They're low, they're high. So often like thoughts, but they're always moving. They're always shifting. And this is the invitation to consider that thoughts can be like this. They're passing events. In our world, we tend to play a huge amount of emphasis on thinking, and it's never to dispute that it's important. But perhaps we don't need to get so attached. It's like it's a bit like Velcro. We don't need to get so attached. Maybe we need to kind of back up a little bit. Another analogy that some of you might find helpful is to consider that you are sitting on a bank and that there is some sort of stream, a brook that, is in front of you. And you can see thoughts coming, they linger in front of you, and then they move, in their little curves and eddies and over stones, but they're always moving away. Some of them come back, and again they linger, maybe for a bit, but they're always moving. They're always shifting. This is an important aspect of our practice to consider as possibilities. That might also be true of emotions. They come, they can stay for a while, and it is to consider cultivating a different relationship, a way of relating with compassion and kindness, and certainly with less judgment. Not always easy when we're struggling, that is for sure. But sometimes it's valuing the struggle, it's respecting the struggle. So I'm now going to bring you back to the breath. So again, awareness of the fact that wherever we went with sounds, with thoughts, emotions, that the breath was always there. So coming back to the breath, following the breath, um, allowing, you can rest there for a while. Rest, you can stay there, linger there. Let it bathe you, let it hold you. And I'm going to read you the poem called The Guest House. So following the breath, this being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honourably, as he or she may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. I'm going to read it once more. This being human is a guest house. Each morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably, as he or she may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. So as we bring this practice to a close, I ring the bell and encourage you to reflect. So I am wondering if you have any comments, anything you would like to share. Did you find the practice interesting? Was it difficult to focus? Did you like the poem?
I liked the poem very much.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know why? Was there anything in particular?
It was just a completely different way of thinking of things than the way I think of things.
Mm.
Opening my eyes, that's not what I think, but it's a lovely thought.
Yeah. I think yeah, you know, it's a very popular poem um to read and to encourage others to read. About who's in your, often the question that's asked, who is in your guest house, and I think emphasis on being human involves a lot of different things in life, and that if we can welcome and embrace some of those things, what often we see as a disaster or very difficult, sometimes ends up something that can be very helpful. Yeah, so yeah.
That reminds me of what you said before the practice too, about being wired to think about the one worst thing that happened, that your mind keeps going back to that.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
glad to hear that's not just me.
Mm. That is not just you. No, it's yeah. So yeah, no, that's certainly not just you. So um Yes, I think that's very true about it. It's a guide. Yeah, for sure. Whatever we're experiencing, even in a depression, even when things are not going well in our life, that this is something. Yeah, it's. I mean, I find it incredible that this person was writing about this hundreds of years ago, and that hopefully in our lives today, hopefully to know that we're not alone with with what we're experiencing, I think hopefully can be very helpful. Yeah. The thing about the negativity bias, um, so I don't know if any of you have heard of Rick Hansen. He's a psychologist that is also a Buddhist teacher. But he there's something about the way that he communicates that is very, very attractive, and he's somebody that I recommend reading because he's the real thing, and he's got this clinical psychology background, which I think is enormously helpful. And he often talks about the negativity bias, and he talks that when we get really, stuck on something, right? That it can be very, very helpful, a small exercise to really think of something pleasing, to think of something that we're safe with, that's pleasing. And if we can stay with that for about 10 to 30 seconds, it locks it in to our long-term memory. And I've often found that really interesting because um, people can often recall negativity. They um, you know, in these programs that I mentioned to you, there's a week that you do a pleasant events calendar every day. You have to write out the event and how it made you feel, physical symptoms. So there's about four categories that you write about. And then the following week, you do the unpleasant events. And I can tell you, I can guarantee you that people will struggle with those pleasant events, but they won't with the unpleasant. They've got kind of like pages of them. Not quite, but they don't have the same difficulty. So it's interesting to me that in our memory bank, we've got lots of stuff that we can recall. So that was always an interesting suggestion I always thought from him. So we try to nudge out. It's kind of like counterbalancing the negativity, and yeah, so something to keep in mind. Yeah. Most of the practices that I am doing here are ones that have come out of a result of the mindfulness-based stress reduction. Yeah. So something to keep in mind, um, should you be interested in more of this. So I hope in the following week that each of you do something pleasant for yourselves consciously, knowingly, every day. It just needs to be a little thing, but to do that for yourselves, to nurture that and to feel good within yourself. Because there's lots of stuff out there that we're all trying to deal with and manage, and um, so bring that into your daily life. I hope that you do that. So is there anything else that anybody would like to comment on or share or ask me about? So it sounds like if there isn't, um, perhaps I will do a 10-minute, maybe 10, 12 minutes, whatever. I'll do a small uh, practice on well-being, and then I'm going to make a suggestion for next week, which is our last session. So okay, so I let me just get my. So in one of the references that I gave you last week, her name is Kristen Neff. And she's one of the people that I think I said this. She's one of the people that, with regards to self compassion research, um, she has a website that there's lots of practices that you can access for free. And she's one of the people that I recommend if you are interested in developing that for yourself. And so one of the things that our research has demonstrated is that um, is to have touch, which of course is a very delicate issue in some people's lives, and that has to be respected. But she often recommends, hand on your heart, hand on your chest, or maybe on your belly, or you might want to, you could touch your arms, your forearms, or maybe do it like this. You could do this. And the idea is that research has demonstrated that it releases oxytocin hormones, which I think has been recognized for some time. Like women might, when they're pregnant, release a lot of those hormones. So she recommends uh, that even though that can be delicate for some people, that there are ways of doing it that are not invasive, and that this is helpful. It's a self-soothing aspect of bringing more self-compassion into your life. And she often suggests, so I'm kind of laying the groundwork of the practice. She often suggests, so this is not me saying this is her, is that to acknowledge this is a difficult moment in my life. So when we're overwhelmed, when we're stressed out, when things are not going well, which sometimes happens perhaps a bit too often, um, and we're just feeling like, what do I do? Sometimes it can be helpful to say, this is a moment of suffering. This is a moment that's difficult. This is a moment that's terribly hard for me. And to acknowledge that and to say to yourself, this is life. Many of us, many people are having difficult moments. So we try to this universal part. Sometimes we think, oh, this shouldn't be happening. Oh, this, and so therefore we deny it, and by denying it, we make it worse. We resist it. So even though it's challenging in that moment, in the long run, it might be very helpful because it helps us to, by acknowledging, we can let it go sometimes. So this is life, this moment that's difficult for me. May I be kind to myself? May I give myself the compassion I need? And we find a way. We find a way of, the self-soothing, yeah, of saying that this is a very difficult moment for me. This is a moment of suffering. Suffering is a part of life. Having difficult moments happens to many people. May I be kind to myself, and may I give myself the compassion I need. In some ways, I often present it a bit like a mantra. I think mantras are interesting, and they just need to be one word. Calm. Can I be at ease in this moment? So I'm going to expand on that, and I'm now going to go into a fairly brief practice. Following the breath, coming in, going out. Again, a posture of wakefulness, posture of stability. And as we're opening up to cultivating well-being within ourselves, cultivating, this sense that we need to develop taking care of ourselves, opening our heart to ourselves. Um, this practice that I introduced to you is about first contemplating that right here in this moment, right here in this moment, in this very room, I am safe. So that this would be, an extension of difficult moments to get through in our life. Perhaps you have memories of feeling unsafe. Um, experience challenging situations in the future. But right now, in this moment, I am safe. I'm in a secure environment and I am relatively free from any danger. So again, it's returning to this contemplation. Right here, right now, I am safe. Right here, right now, I am safe and I am free from danger. So you're going to feel the quality of being safe in your body and in your mind. Right here, right now, in this moment, I am safe and I am relatively free from any danger. I'm breathing into that, right down to the very bone, right down to the cells, right down to the very heart of myself. Right now, right here, right now, in this moment, right here, right now, this moment, safe. And I am relatively free from any danger. Breathing in, right? We're inviting the breath and the body stable, solid. Breathing in this contemplation. Now we're going to widen it, and we're going to include that the fact is that right here, right now, I am resourced. I've got food, I've got warmth, clothes, I've got water, shelter, so that even though I may have concerns about the future, right here, right now, I am resourced. My needs are met. Again, breathing in, feeling the quality of being resourced in your body and your mind. Right here, right now, my needs are met. I am resourced. Again, this idea that we're opening up to, we are welcoming into the mind, into the body, right here, right now, I am resourced. Right here, right now, I am safe. I am relatively free from danger. Right here, right now, I am resourced. Breathing it in, we're storing that in as a way of us coping with how we are. Just feeling I think the quality of these messages to the mind. And we're resting. I mean, I think the following the breath allows us, just the natural rhythm of the breath, resting with confidence in these realities, in these moments. Now we're going to contemplate the fact that right here, right now, you are connected to other human beings, and we are even in our group tonight. Right, there's a few of us. There's Sue, there's me, and we've got Cheryl, Kathleen, we've got Kelly, Paula. We've got others that I probably can't see. Cheryl, yeah, I said that. So again, and there's other people in our life that we are connected to. So right here, right now, I am connected. Bring to mind, the faces and presence of loved ones, family members, friends, co-workers, our group. Um, Sometimes we can feel alone, or we can be lonely at times. Sometimes that's a fact. That's a fact of life, right? But right now, in this moment, we're connected. I have people, I have supportive relationships in my life, and again, absorbing through the breath right now, in this moment, connected. I have people and I have supportive relationships in right here, right now, connected. Right here, right now, I am forced. I have shelter, I have water. Right now, I am resourced. I have people in my life, support that care. Right now, this moment, right here, I am safe. I am relatively free. I'm just going to linger for a moment. We're bringing our session to an end. So right here, right now, in this moment, I am relatively free of danger. Right here, right now, in this moment, forced, I food and shelter. Right here, right now, in this moment, I am connected. In my life, I am caring, supportive relationships. Breathing that in through the body, connecting to the mind, connecting to the body, connecting to the spirit. And as we did at the beginning of the session, an hour and whatever minutes, or an hour and 25 minutes, um, perhaps did did you meet your intention? Was it that happened for you? How do you feel now? having spent some time with yourself, where, what, what, how do you experience yourself after some time of nourishment? If anything arose for you, can you greet it? Can you welcome it? As the poem said, can it be a guide in your life? Can it tell you some things that might open, worthy of exploration? Um, Maybe sometimes we just need to let something linger, sit there for a while, rather than move with it, and maybe just let it sit. So I'll just finish up this session by inviting anyone to comment, ask any questions, and in the remaining few minutes, I would be pleased to receive anything. And if there isn't anything, then we will bring our session to a close. Next week is our last week, and Sue, before next Wednesday, Sue will send you the list of resources, because I will go through them and highlight them. They will be perhaps a two-sided page, so it would be good for you to copy it. And I'm going to keep them brief, and hopefully choose ones that I think can be very helpful for those that are interested in further practice. And my suggestion is that if you can, to try some practice or continue with your practice. And yes. And if there's anything, I know, I'm just reading my note here. If there's anything that I have not answered, and there may well be, then perhaps that would be good to let Sue know before next Wednesday.
I think we're all totally relaxed. There's no comments whatsoever.
No. So, um, so I thank you for being here. So let us just finish with a moment of gratitude. Yeah. So taking a moment, very personally, to perhaps thank yourself for effort, for being here, for an interest, a desire to learn, and to thank yourself, right? Because all of this is does require energy, and it's not always easy to do these things. So thank yourself. It's part of self-care. Hopefully there's something has come up tonight that you've learned that will um, better promote, make you feel better. And I look forward to seeing you for the last session next week. Take care.